Okay, so it seems I am live. So we just need to check once if everything is proper. So at least my YouTube streaming server says I am live. So it's time for us to wait for some people to join because YouTube is not sending the notification as fast as we expect it to send. Okay, so the audio is clear, the video is clear, and we can get started. Now, before we get started, since we are waiting for everyone to join, we'll even not talk about what we're going to talk about today. It will be exciting session because we have not done this type of sessions before. Yes, we did live sessions. Yes, we did we did live sessions. We did the coding sessions, but today it's a combination of live coding and going with very basic scenario. Because see, on this channel we try to post the new technology videos or even basic programming, but somewhere it was advanced, right? So let's make it very basic so that everyone can join this. Now, first of all, welcome to the Learning Marathon 2021. This is a new initiative from YouTube India. They want to make sure that YouTube also becomes a education platform, which it is now. You don't actually see only the cat videos on YouTube. You actually see content of different types, and education is getting that hype. So since we are waiting for everyone to join, we'll start this session. Okay, there's a blur in the thing. Just a second, let me just check if there's autofocus. Okay, I think this should work. I did some setting. This should work. Okay, so before we do this, we'll start with some questions, a quiz question basically. So what you can do is, now since I want to see if everyone is watching this, so I will ask you some questions and you have to answer them in the chat window. So let's make this session as an interactive session. So what we'll do is let me just share my screen with you. Okay, so I hope, so you saw the first answer. That's weird. That's literally weird. Okay, so I hope everyone can see this. So the first question for you, and of course there will be a delay in this, and that's why we'll do this. Okay, so let me ask you the first question. I hope you can see my screen, and oh, okay, it's still not visible, I guess. Just a second. It's tricky to actually work with this software, you know. So that's the first question. I guess you saw the answer as well. So the first question is, guess this personality. And of course, most of you might be knowing him. So come on, I just want to see the interaction on this chat, everyone. Okay, screen not shared yet. Yeah, so with the streaming server, this is the issue, right? You are visible. Okay, come on. So now you can see, right? That's right, Elon Musk. So that was the right answer. Let me go with the next one. So Elon Musk, why this person is so important nowadays is because, of course, we know about Elon Musk, and then we all have huge respect for him, and then we all follow him on Twitter, right? And that's where it becomes interesting. So we'll talk about it after some time. The next one, the next question. Guess this logo, and someone already answered it. I don't know how they got this. Come on, the next one, next question. Oh, it's not Elon Musk. Who is this guy then? Mr. Musk. Okay, next one. I guess you got it. Self-learning scientist. That's great. Not Jeff Bezos. If you can see, there's a difference between the hairstyle between these two. Okay, now this one here is okay. No one is answering this. Background also coming in your voice. So there's some music going on somewhere. Okay, then the answer for this is actually a cryptocurrency. I don't know if you know about this. There are so many cryptocurrencies getting famous, right? From few days we are talking about cryptocurrencies a lot. So this is a Dogecoin. Now Dogecoin is getting a lot of hype these days thanks to Elon Musk. With a single tweet, the value of Dogecoin went up, right? Okay, next one. This is not a Bitcoin, this is a Dogecoin. So next one, any guess? Oh, why it is also saving the answer. Now, people who are from the machine learning world, they know what is this. Okay, so this is actually, come on. Okay, so this is a machine learning thing. This is a framework or a model which is used for machine learning to train the machine learning models. So this is TensorFlow, right? I guess everyone joined. We can actually start with this session. Okay, let me just go with the next question quickly. Any guess? Now, I will not talk about this person now. We'll talk about that once we start this session. A very famous personality. The thing is, not a lot of people know about this person because he's not in media, but it's quite famous. I will give you the hint as well. He is a founder of a programming language, a very famous programming language, and we call that language as a mother of all the languages. Any guess? Okay. So I will not name the person. I will just skip to the next slide. I will not even show. If you can pause and if you can see, I don't know. Sure. Okay. Next one. So again, we'll talk about this. This is a Python logo. Quite simple, right? And then let's start with the topic. I guess everyone joined. So again, we will be doing the QS session. But before I start with the session, if you enjoy my live session, hit that like button, everyone. So I can see a lot of people are watching this. Hit that like button so that we can get started. So topic for today is code from scratch. Okay, now the thing is, as I mentioned before, we have so many videos available on this platform which talks about programming, which talks about technology. But the idea was to start in such a way that anyone, doesn't matter is it you are from the programming world or you are from different stream and you're learning a language for the first time. Now it's tricky, okay? When you learn a language for the first time, it's always tricky because you don't know which language to choose, and that's the thing we'll do. And then there's also the point of mindset. See, the thing is, if you observe all the learners, in fact, as a trainer, that's our job, right? So when I teach to beginners, when I teach to industry experts, in fact, I do get a chance to go to the industries and teach the people who knows about everything. So last year, before COVID, I went to Bangalore for a training where I was training the employees of the company who have experience of around 10-15 years of experience. I was teaching them a technology, and it's a very different experience because they know it, but still they want to learn it in a different way. So as a trainer, what we do is we observe them, and then from an observation, what makes a programmer a great programmer are multiple aspects actually. The most important for me is the way you look at it, the way you think about programming, the way you try to solve the problems. It's all about here, okay? So it's how do you think? That's very important. And when you learn a language, this is something you have to embed in your brain, that it's not just about syntax, it's about solving the problem. And that's why, if you know, we have this amazing subject. So whatever degree you're doing, maybe it is engineering or a bachelor degree in IT, you do learn different subjects, right? And one of the subject is data structures, algorithms. What that subject do with your brain is it will teach you how to solve problems. Okay, so let me just start with this topic. But before we go ahead, I just need to do this so that. Okay, I hope I'm visible. Cool. So now when you talk about the world of programming, it's the most important thing is the way you think, right? So before we get started, everyone hit that like button. I can see a lot of people are watching this, and so before we start, I just want to make sure everyone is there and hit like. That's how you motivate me to get this session ahead. Come on. Cool. So let me just go with the point actually. So before we start again, I love quizzes. That's what we do. That's what we do, right? So normally this session which I'm taking now, I do this in colleges or in corporate for the new joinees, and we do it for 3 to 4 hours. But we need to finish that in 1 hour today. So first question for you, everyone, is when you look at the present and the future, what do you think the technology, the part of technology or the role of technology, which is changing the way we are doing things now and it is changing the way we'll be doing things in future? Now look at the technologies which you use. 10 years back, if you look at the past, technology was not something which everyone was going into, but now everything is so normal to us, right? Example, using mobile phones to chat with someone, calling people, then having a video call, buying online products. Example, if you look at the present thing, it's not something which started today or in this year. It's there from a long time, but it takes time for technology to get used to. Example, nowadays everyone does online shopping, right? Example, if you give me a choice to buy everything online, I will do that, okay? So I will not even go to a shop to buy anything. But sometimes you do go to malls and shop to buy stuff because somewhere you want that physical connection, you want to see the products, right? So yes, so we nowadays we do online shopping, we do online payments. Now there is something which changed a lot, especially in India. After demonetization, everyone thought, hey, we don't have currency to spend now. What to do? You know, Paytm, Google Pay, they all got that benefit. And you can also do international transactions. You don't have to go to a bank to send money to some other country. You can do that online thanks to PayPal, thanks to different websites available. Now, it's not that those websites are new. It's just that we are trusting them because there's a way you can claim, you can track your transactions, right? The next one is social network. The way things are changing now in terms of media presence. Example, initially we used to have Orkut, we used to have Facebook, but now we have so many platforms to present yourself, to connect with people. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Telegram for chatting, WhatsApp, then we have what else? We had TikTok, thank God it's went away, but again the same thing is coming on Instagram now. But keeping that aside, social network is a thing where you can connect with people online, right? But I still believe physical connections or one-to-one connections is more important than the online presence. Now the most important, which happened after COVID, is work from home. Now see, you know, from 2015, most of my time I'm working from home. Now being a trainer, being an online trainer, it's not something new for me to be online trainer. I was doing this from a long time. YouTube, online sessions for different clients in different countries, making online projects for a client. But then when it became normal, everyone is working from home. It's difficult for company to actually monitor the productivity of the employee, but thanks to the new amount of tools we have, example, we have Zoom for the video interaction. We have some software using which you can monitor the machines, you can find bugs, you can coordinate. So everything is happening because of the technologies and automation. This is amazing. You know, we have seen automation at a lot of places, right? But a few days back, my credit card got blocked because of some transactions. So I was doing some international transaction because of which my card got blocked. And then I called the customer care of that bank, and then it was IVR, and then there were a lot of questions, what happened, and then I wanted to talk to the customer care, but there was a voice, the computer voice saying, please mention your query in a message, in the voice note. So I sent the voice note by saying, I want to unblock my card. And the computer from the other side, okay, said, okay, you want to unblock your card, say one, press or say yes to unblock it, and I say yes, and my card got unblocked. Everything was automated. I have not done any interaction with human, and done. So that's the thing we are going for. Yes, it is increasing the unemployment, right? But what's important is every time you have a new technology, there will be unemployment, but that will give rise to new type of employments for the new technologies, right? Now this is present, we know about this. What about the future? Now, if you look at the future aspect of the industry, or how do you code for the future, is this is how your future looks like. Driverless cars, AI, basically. I wanted to put AI there, but I went for the fancy word, which is driverless cars. Cryptocurrencies. In future, all the transactions will be done. In fact, I'm not saying this is said by most of the crypto world maximalists. They believe that the future will be cryptocurrencies. So you don't have to use the fiat currencies, rupees, dollars. Then IoT and machine teaching. Okay. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake there. It should be machine learning, right? No, machine learning, we all know about it, right? It's still there. I'm talking about machine teaching. So in future, you will be having teachers, but not human teachers, AI teachers. So if you want to learn a language, so I feel bad about my job, but so you will be having machines who will be teaching to students. Not expert level teaching, but let's say if you want to learn the basics of something, machine will teach you that. And of course, the advanced part you can learn from humans. That's how the combination will work. So there are so many things which are happening in the world. There's so many things which will be happening in future. Yeah, will be happening in future. But I just went for some fancy term here. Okay, great. Now, if you look at this thing, how do you go for this step? Of course, if someone says you can learn about IoT, you can learn about cryptocurrency in a day, in 24 hours, don't believe these people. Even if I said that at some point, you can't learn something in one day, right? It takes time. Everything takes time. It took me 2 years to learn blockchain. It took me 3 years to understand how to make softwares. So it's easy to make softwares, right? The basic softwares, but it takes time to make softwares by yourself from start to end. So everything takes time. Now the first step of doing all this thing is learning a language. So as I mentioned before, it's not just about syntax, okay? I know most of you say, hey, go to the coding part. I just want to see how this coding screen looks like. But the most important thing is understanding how do you solve a problem. How do you convert a problem into a set of statements so that when they work, it will solve the issues? And I always believe, as a programmer, we are magicians, right? We are aliens, and we can solve every problem in the world. Okay, there's a asterisk there which says terms and conditions apply, but we can solve a lot of issues, right? We can solve banking issues, cryptocurrencies, we can solve a lot of accidents happening on the road, driverless cars. We can solve, let's say I forgot to switch off the AC. I can control my ACs from anywhere, IoT. Lack of teachers, machine teaching. So we can solve all the issues with the help of programming. But the question still remains, how do you choose your language? See, I have observed this. Whenever you want to do something, the first thing, most of your time gets wasted in selecting something. Example, if you want to learn a language, the question would be, which language should I learn, right? So that's a tricky part. So you have to choose a language. So how do you choose a language? So even before I mentioned that, I want to know from you, in this world, how many programming languages we have? And of course, I'm looking at your questions. Don't worry, I will try to answer your questions here. But at the end, or maybe I will try to pick up something in between. So I can see one of the questions which says, what is syntax means? Okay, we'll talk about it in some time. Okay, what are driverless cars? So imagine a car which is getting driven by itself. So you don't have a driver, but car is still running. So the project started from different companies. Now Tesla is doing that. Most of the companies, Google is doing that. They are making driverless cars, and somewhere it's there in different countries. Maybe in India also you'll be having those things, but let's see. So how do you choose a language? So the question for everyone is, how many programming languages are there in the world? Now, first of all, what's a programming language? See, if you think you are watching, so imagine this, you're watching this video on your mobile phone. Something is happening. So these circuits are working together to display my footage on your mobile screen. You're able to send messages, you're able to take photos. All these are softwares, the set of instructions, right? And this softwares will be written in a language. Example, if I want to achieve something, if I have to, let's say I want to eat something, so I have a cook. So I can give instruction to a cook and by saying, hey, do this, do that, do that. So those are the steps you have to follow. But then I want my computer to work the way I want. In that case, you have to talk to your computer. How do you do that? So you have to use a language, right? But unfortunately, computers don't understand the human language like English, Hindi, Marathi. What they understand is only one language, the binary language, ones and zeros. So basically you have to convert something to ones and zeros. So it is, the easy way is having a programming language, English type language, so basically these are called as higher level languages basically, where you as a human can learn that, and you can also convert them into a binary language which a computers understand, right? So any guess how many languages we have in the world? Okay, Swaraj says around 10,000. How can you guess that? That's great. Python आहे a number one language. Okay. 700. Okay. Maybe you Googled it, I guess. Okay, so basically there are more than 10,000 programming languages. Some articles says there are even 25,000 programming languages. So I will go with this number, which is more than 10,000. I'm not sure the exact number, but it is more than 10,000. Now, who creates these languages? So there are different scientists, there are different researchers who felt, the existing languages has some drawbacks. I want my own. So they went with a new language. But the question is it useful? Sometimes it is yes, sometimes it is no. Example, most of the companies, they built their own language, like let's say JetBrains. They went with Kotlin language and they thought, hey, Kotlin is a great language. Let's publish it. And that's how you got a new language in the world. And then, but Wikipedia lists only 700 languages. So yeah, officially it's 700, but there are more than 10,000 languages. How many are famous? Approximately 20, right? So if you look at this world, just count the number of languages Java, Python, C++, C language, PHP, Ruby, Go, Dart. There are so many languages, right? So if you count, there will be 20, 30 languages you can name. But then if you want to start, you have to start with one, right? And that's the confusion, which one to choose. You want to learn a language, right? How do you choose a language? The answer is very simple. First of all, let me just show you the famous languages. In fact, there are so many, I was not able to download all. So this is the famous one. So this one, which you can see here in orange, I'm a colorblind person. So this is a Swift language. This one here looks like Python is a Python language. Then we have Java language. Then we have C++, JavaScript, Kotlin, Go language. There are so many languages, right? Which one you will choose? Let me talk about my journey. So the first language which I learned is C language, then C++, then Java, then PHP, then Ruby for some time, then Swift. I guess I also learned JavaScript in between, then Python. So that was my flow. But is it the best way to go to any language? So the thing is, how do you choose a language depend upon different factors. The first one is your interest, or maybe the first one should be from which institution you're learning your languages. Example, if you are in a college, you don't have a choice. They will teach you your first language. Some will go for C, some will go for C++, some will go for Python, some will go for Java. I have seen colleges that are teaching Java as a first language. Tricky, I know. The second factor is your interest. So if you give me a choice, I would of course go for C++ as my first language. I know that's harsh, or C language as my first language. See, everyone has a different way of learning a language. When I learn something, I always look for logic. And that's why it takes time for me to learn something. Blockchain took me 2 years, and that's weird, okay? You can learn that in 6 months or 7 months, but it took me 2 years because maybe I was searching for the logical stuff. If something comes into my view, I just want to see what is happening behind it. If someone says, hey, this is how it should work, I don't take that as answer. I want to know why it is working the way it is working. So for me, C and C++ makes much more sense because it is more structured. If you want to learn a language in an easy way, because C and C++ is a bit difficult, then Python should be our best option. It's a very easy language to learn, to start with. And that's why most of the colleges, schools, they start with a Python language. Easy, right? Then if you want to see something happening directly as output, and if you want to build a website, JavaScript, amazing language to start with. The only problem I feel with JavaScript is not that structured. You don't have answers to each question. JavaScript says this is how you do it. And if you ask why, they will simply say do it. So I don't feel answer for each question in JavaScript. Maybe if I spend more time, I might. But if you learn C and C++, they give you the way, they give you the path, right? And Python is also a language which you can learn from scratch. Okay, so this looks good, right? So which language to choose? Since we want to make it easy, and this will be your first language, so I will go for Python language. Now, what's the difference between all these languages? Why we have so many languages, and why they are creating new languages every time? Example, Go is a new language. Dart is a new language. Why do you need a new language when you have all these options? See, every language has some advantages and it has some drawbacks. When you say advantages, example, if you talk about Java, it's a language which you can run on any machine. It's a language which is very strongly used for object-oriented concepts. It's a language which is, when you run it, it's very fast. Drawback, it has a very big learning curve, and Java is very verbose. So basically, even if you want to print hello world, if you want to print something, let's say hello world, if you want to print hi or something, you have to type at least 6 or 7 lines of code. That's not the thing with Python. In Python, if you want to print something, you just have to write 1 line. Now, it changes when you want to make a big project. In a big project, maybe Java will have less number of lines compared to Python. Okay, so for learners, Python make much more sense, but for development environment, Java make much more sense, right? C++ is very fast because it directly works on your machine. Okay, Java has a layer in between, same as Python. Then JavaScript was mostly for the front end initially, but now thanks to different frameworks like Node.js, you can use JavaScript everywhere. In fact, for mobile applications as well. So if you want to be a mobile developer or Android developer, you can also use JavaScript there. Okay, now coming back to this, which language to choose? Since we are learning for the first time, we will start with Python. Okay, one more question. Oh, you can see the question behind it. That's a drawback of this theme which I'm using. The quiz is, which language came first? Is it Java or Python? Now, most of you, you think that Python is a new language, but the thing is, Python came in 1991 and Java came in 1995. It's just that Python getting famous now because of its usage. Python is getting used for machine learning, and machine learning is getting a lot of hype. So everyone want to go for machine learning, so the language they have to learn is Python. It is easy to learn. Schools are adopting it, and that's why Python is getting famous now. Cool. Now, since we have so many people, if you have just joined, we will be starting with a code. Okay. Soon we'll start with a code. So if you are new here, hit that like button, everyone, and we can get started. So of course, I will pick up some questions. So what we are going to do in the next 30 minutes. For the next 10-15 minutes, we'll write a simple code to understand how do you think. See, of course, you can't learn a language in 1 day, right? Or in 1 hour. So we'll write a simple code just to understand how do you think for the programming language, how do you think in a way so that you can learn a language. And then after that, we'll have a QA session. Okay, cool. So let me go back to my command prompt. I hope everything is good in the control panel. Cool. Okay, So what we will be doing here is we'll write a code, okay? I just need to change this settings here so that it will be visible to everyone. Okay. Now, how do you write a code and why we have to code first of all? See, whenever you want to make a software, your software will run on a machine, and your machine is actually working because of CPU. Now, CPU stands for Central Processing Unit. It's very important, okay? I have seen people who learn about language, but they don't understand how machine works, and it's very important to understand. The brain of your computer is CPU, right? Which stands for Central Processing Unit. It has three parts: CU, MU, and ALU. Due to advancement, we have more parts, but just to keep it simple, CU, MU, ALU. CU is a control unit of your system, how the data flow should be, so it controls everything. How the instruction should pass, controlling unit. The MU is a memory unit, which stores data, temporary, permanent, both. And then you have ALU, which I feel is the most important thing, which is arithmetic and logical unit. See, before computers, we used to have calculators, right? So what's the main difference between a calculator and a computer? In calculator, we have arithmetic unit, which does calculations, right? You can add, you can subtract, you can delete. So that's arithmetic. But then in CPU, in computers, we have arithmetic and a logical unit. Logical, what is very important here? Logic is something which makes your computer think. And that's why we say, right, when you say you will be having a driverless car in future, that means a car will decide when to take right, when to take left, when to increase the speed, when to decrease the speed, when to apply the brake, when to show the indicator, everything. So if a computer can think, a car can think, and the way a computer thinks is because of that logical unit. So basically you have to instruct your CPU what I'm expecting you from now. And the way you can instruct is with the help of a language, as I mentioned. So first thing you need is a software on which you can write a code, right? See, every language, as I mentioned before, computers understand only one language, which is, which one? Binary language, right? Which is ones and zeros. And if you want to talk to a computer, you have to convert that into, so whatever you do, you have to type in a binary format. And trust me, it's very weird, okay? Binary only works with zeros and ones. So if you want to instruct your computer, if you want to say something, you have to say 000, 111 and 1010. It's difficult to interact with computers with that language. And if you try plain English, maybe your computers will say, get lost, right? So we are still waiting for a day when so we need a natural language processing here where you will mention your criteria, your computer will give you a software, but we are not there yet. So you still have to write a software. So you have to write a language which will get converted into a binary language. And that's why we have to use some software, and we call them as compilers, right? So here we need a Python compiler. So how do you get a Python compiler? It's very easy. Just go to Google and search for, let me just take you there. Okay, that's a tricky part about using this. What's that? I just want to open a browser. Sometimes you need to use the browser which you don't like. And for me, it's Edge browser. Okay, so I will say Python download. So this is a website which will take you, and you have to get Python downloaded. The latest version is 3.9.3, and so the series which I made on YouTube. So if you are new to this channel, you can just search for. Let me just make my face a bit bigger so that you can see my expressions at least. Just a second. Yeah. Cool. Where was I? I was talking about, yeah. So you have to, so if you're new to this channel, I have so many videos on Python already available, okay? So there's a playlist which says Python tutorial for beginners, which has some videos, and you can watch them to learn Python from start to end. The version which I've used there is 3.7. Now in these two versions, 3.8 and 3.9, there are some new updates, but they are very small updates. We are waiting for Python 4.0, which will be a big update, okay? So till that point, you can still watch those videos 3.7, and it will surely work. And I'm not sure what they will be coming with 4.0, but it should work. So you can get this software, or you can also get the older one, which will work. Now, once you have this software downloaded and installed, what you can do is you can go back to your command prompt and you can type Python. It will give you a prompt. Okay, this is where you have to write your software. Now, what you will do this, we will do the most difficult thing you can do on a computer to add something. So what I will do is I want to add two numbers, 2 plus 3, and it should work, right? You're getting 5. But you'll be saying, hey, what's a different thing there? The thing is, we are using a language here. You are talking to your computer by doing something. You're saying 2 plus 3 is 5, right? But then I want to do something more. I want to print something. So the way you can print is, you have to talk to your computer by saying, I just want to check if everything is proper. My screen just started blinking. Okay, it seems good. Yeah, so you are talking to your computer, right? How do you talk to a computer by using a language? So you will say, hey, I want to print hello world. If you say enter, it will give you an error. The problem is, see, whenever you learn a new language, you have to follow some syntax there. You have to learn those words. Here also, what is syntax basically? The function, the name, the keywords which you use, the way, the flow of that language. Example, the name, the keywords, brackets, opening, closing, ending, all this comes under syntax. So basically a language syntax which you say. English, doesn't matter which language you do, you always learn those words, right, and the flow of it. See, grammar is different. Then we have words, which you want to focus now. So it says syntax error, something is missing. See, if you want to print hello world, you have to instruct, you have to ask your computer, hey, I want to print hello world. How do you do that? So when you ask something, you have to call a function. What is function? See, if you want to execute something, if you want to get something done, programming language provides you something called as functions. Function will do its work, okay? So function will do its work and you just have to call it. So the function which is responsible to print something in Python is called print. So you have to say, hey print, it's a function basically. So you're asking, hey Python, print. Python will say, okay, what you want me to print? Print hello world. Oh, we again got an error. The problem is, print is a keyword. Now what is keyword? Every language has a lot of keywords in it. And every keyword has a meaning to it. And Python knows about those keywords. So print is a keyword Python knows. Okay, Python will say, okay, print means you want me something to print on the console. Got it. But what is hello world? Hello world is not a syntax, so it's not a word of, or it's not a keyword of Python. It's my words, right? I'm printing something. So if you are doing something and if you don't want it to convert, so basically Python compiler will try to convert every word here. It will convert print into existing form. It will try to convert hello world, and Python is not understanding what it is. So in that case, you have to use double quotes or single quote basically. You have to put your things in, your string always in a quote. Oh, again there's an error. So basically, you have to use round brackets. So function, whenever you want to pass a value, you need to use round brackets. So function will say, okay, you want me to do something, give me some input. So basically, whenever you pass something in the round bracket, you're passing the values to it. And you can see we got hello world. That works, right? But then I don't want to do the simple thing. What I want is, I want to have, let's automate something. So let's say I have some numbers here. Example, let's say if you have a phone book, right? So in your phone book, you have so many numbers. And then you search for some numbers there, right? So what we will do here is, we'll have a set of numbers. I want to search a number from that book. So what we will do is, we'll write a simple code, maybe of 10-15 lines, and we'll try to achieve that. We have a set of numbers. Out of that number, I want to find a number, and I also want to know at which location that number is. Now we can achieve that with the help of searches. Now what happens is, in the computer world, in the programming world, we have so many algorithms. Now what's an algorithm? See, the code which you write is actually syntax, right? But then the logic behind it, you have to do that in a format. You have to write steps. Now, those steps are called algorithms, right? Okay, let me before we do that, let me pick up some questions. Where are the questions? TensorFlow. Okay, you just joined, I guess. So if you just joined, everyone, hit that like button so that I will know you have just joined. Okay, question from Techno Hacks. Can a person make chess robot by Python? Of course, why not? Step by step to solve problems. See, we can't do that in 1 hour, but just try to understand which flow I'm taking. So one of the best way to learn is to observe. So if you observe me, how I think when I write a code, it will make it easier for you. Is Python enough to learn to create a dependent career? Not exactly. See, everything takes time, and Python will be your first step. Okay, it will take some time. Okay, with that, let me just go with some questions. Let me just go with the code. See, where do you write a code? Of course, you can write the entire code here, okay? It's possible. But the thing is, it will be difficult to see, it will be difficult to manage, it will be difficult to edit. So basically, if you want to edit your code, you need an editor. So which editor we are going to use? Of course, we will be opening our best editor in the world, which is Notepad. And we can write the entire code here. There's only one problem. When you write a code, you need help. Not the human help, but the computer help. Because we make spelling mistakes, we want to debug the code. What is debugging is, every time you write a code, you make mistakes, right? Intentionally or knowingly or unknowingly, you make mistakes. And then, how do you remove those mistakes? See, if it is a syntax problem, if you make a spelling mistake, that's okay. But what if your logic is wrong? How do you debug it? So debugging means removing bugs. So every time you write a code which works, but it's not working the way you want, or it works but it is crashing, you know, sometimes when you open the apps, it crashes. So there are some bugs. Bugs are basically mistakes in the code, right? So debugging means removing bugs. Now with that, I have a silly joke. It's not a joke, but I have a question for you. If debugging is removing bugs, then what is coding? Okay, so think about it and we'll talk about it. Okay, so basically we want to write a code, but not on Notepad, because Notepad will not help you in auto completion, because we want it to, you know, the moment you type print, it should complete the sentence. Okay. In that case, we will be using some IDE. Now, I know that's a different word, right? So IDE. Now, IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. So basically, you need to type a code, you need to compile your code. So compiling simply means converting your code from high-level language, in English type language, to a computer type language. Then you need to debug, you need to package it. So IDE stands for integrated. So spelling of integrated doesn't matter. Integrated development. Ignore the spelling, everyone. Not something which is important. Okay, so it is integrated development environment. So we will be using IDE, which has everything. Now, which is the best IDE for Python? It is PyCharm. So how do you download PyCharm? Very easy. Just go to Google and say, hey, Google, I want to download PyCharm. Google will say, okay, this is a website. These are the steps. Follow it. And you will get PyCharm as software. See, if you want to learn everything step by step, there are videos available. This is just to understand how do you learn something. Okay, oh, we already have a code here. I was just testing this IDE before, because this is my new setup. So let me just close it. Okay, so the first time when you start your PyCharm, it will give you options. Do you want to get a new project? Do you want to open the project? Now since we are doing this for the first time, we'll say, give me a new project. It will ask you for the project name. Let's go for Python project. And let's create it. So it will give you this look. Taking some time. Now I know you are a big fan of dark theme. So when I made the Python videos, I just want to check the battery level there. I can't say it, unfortunately. Oh. Yeah, where was I? I was talking about the dark theme, yeah. So when I made the Python series, everyone wanted dark theme, and here we go, we have a dark theme here. Enjoy. Okay, so what we will do here is, so if you look at this PyCharm, I don't want to spend more time because we want to see how do you think about a problem solution. So what I will do, I will just delete this code. So it will give you some code, and we don't want this code. Okay, so what code we want? So basically we want here to print, let's say hello world. Now the way you can do that is by saying print, and in brackets you will say hello world. Just let me know if you can't see the font here. Yes, we can also use Visual Studio. I'm a big fan of IntelliJ, that's why I'm going for, yeah, again, silly joke, the light theme. You know why programmer use dark theme? Because light attract bugs. I love that joke, it's good. What's the shortcut to increase the font size? Okay, this should do. So yeah, we want to print hello world, ignore the spelling again. And if you, so how do you run this? So basically you have to play this, click on this play button, and in the output you can see we got hello world. Right? The first step done. The next step here is I want to, so let's say I have a list of values. Okay, so I have values here. So let's say the values are maybe 5, 6, 9. What are the values we have? Let's say 2, let's say 6 we already got, so 7. So let's say we have these 5 values, or maybe we should add some more values here. So let's say we have this, how many values we have? 8, yeah, so we have these 8 values, and I want to search for some number. So let's say I want to search for 2. So when I search for 2, it should say, hey, 2 is at 4th location. If you can see, 2 is at 4th location, right? That's the output we want. So how do we do that? So in this case, first of all, okay, how do you write a code? So we can simply say, hey, Python, search 2 for me, and that's it. If we do this, and if you click on this play button, oh, it will give you some bad words. So we got a syntax error. It says, hey, Python, search 2 for me. There was an error. Okay, cool, cool. We got an error at least. The problem is, this is not how you code, right? This is not how you talk to a computer. So if you want to instruct, first of all, we need to save this data somewhere. How do you store values? That's tricky, right? Say if you have only one value, it's easy to store. So what you can do is, you can take a box and you can store that value. So let's say I want to store, okay, I can see font is too small. Okay. I think 16 should do. How about this? Or maybe I should go for a bigger one. Is the font visible now? Okay. I think this should be enough. Cool. Yeah, control plus scroll is not working for me. I don't know why. Cool. Okay, so what we'll do here is, first of all, how do you store something? So just let me know if the font is still small. Okay, so how do you store a value? So what you do is you take a box and you put your value there, and every box need to have a name. So let's say I will take a name here. I will say num. And num equal to. So num is a box for me where I will store my value. So I want to store 5. Likewise, we have one other number. So we'll name this. So we have to name some boxes, right? So the first box name is num1. The second box name is num2. And I will say, let's say, the second number 6. And then we'll go for num8. Of course, we have so many numbers in between. We'll go for 4. So you're storing all your values in boxes, and these boxes are called variables. So in programming, doesn't matter which language you learn, every language is, oh, you still can't see the font. How that is possible, sir? Okay, this should work. Okay, so what you're doing is you are storing all these values in a variable. So what is variable? So variable is a box which you can, now why this variable is because you can change the value of it, right? And that's why. Example, initially if I say num1 is 5, later I can say num1 is maybe 8, my choice. I can change the value. Okay, but then the problem is if you have so many values and if you want to store them together, can I store all this value in one box? Yes, and that's why different languages provide different features. In Python, we can use list here. So list is a collection of values, right? List of values. Now, how do you create a list? It's very simple. Maybe I can say nums. So nums is a collection of numbers. Okay, name can be anything. Okay, don't go with the name. You can say nums. You can say my numbers. You can say list. You can say whatever you want. Okay, so you want to put all these numbers together, right? So we will use a square bracket here to put all the numbers together. I just need to check if anyone has an issue. Okay, looks good. Okay, no, this live session will not be deleted. It will be available, don't worry. Okay, so we are putting this thing in a list, right? So let me just remove this. So we took all the numbers and now we have them in a list in nums. Now from all these numbers, I would just want to search for one number, right? So I will say which number you want to search, right? So I will say n is, let's say I want to search for 2. So when I search for 2, it should show me the location of that number. Now in this case, what you can simply do is you can say index. Now, of course, you can use a number, and you can say, hey Python, search for 2. Remember search function? So you can have a search as a function the way we did it for print. So we are asking Python, hey Python, search for number 2 and give me the index number. Okay, what is index number? Location. You can use any number. Actually, Let's use simple words, not index, location. So, hey Python, search for 2 and give me the location. Python will say, okay, done. But, okay, let's say we got it. Let's say we got the location. We can simply print the location, right? But the problem is if you run this code, Python will give you bad words. And Python will say, hey, I know what is nums, I know what is list, I know what is n, I know what is LOC, which is your variable. What is search? There was no issue with the print, right? Python says, hey, I know what is print, I don't know what is search. Yeah, actually, if I change the theme, it should. I think that should work. If I switch to light theme, the font should be visible for some time, okay? I know you hate light themes, but for teaching, light theme works better than the black themes or the dark themes. Okay, no issue in the chat, okay. So yeah, so Python says, hey, I don't know what this search means. So in this case, what you will do here is, see there are two types of functions. One, the inbuilt functions and the function which you have to create. In this case, print was inbuilt. Search is not an inbuilt function. You can create your own function. I'm just checking if everyone is complaining about the font size. Yeah, if you see the entire playlist, which should work. Okay, so we'll do search, but then we don't have this function, right? Let's create this function. So what I will do is, how do you create a function? Now, when you are creating your own function, you have to use a keyword, which is def. Remember keywords. Keyword is something which Python knows, okay? So def is a keyword. So we are saying, hey Python, don't worry, let me create a function for you. So I will say search is my function, and in this I will pass the, okay. Python will say, okay, you are sending me a number, right? Search need to accept a number. I will accept that number in a variable called n. So whatever you are sending here, 2 will go to n, okay? And we can say colon. But there is one more issue here. The issue is, in this search, so search is a block, okay? So this is search block. So whenever you give a colon, this becomes a block. So you can define the function of search here. But then search will say, okay, you are giving me a number, but from where I will search it? So basically you have to pass two things here, not one. You have to pass the nums and you have to even pass the number. So I'm passing the list as well as I'm passing the number which I want to search. From this list, search this number. So from this list, search this number. So whatever you are sending, you have to receive here. Names can be changed, okay? So let's say you are sending nums, you can say list here, that works. If you're sending n here, you can accept in a, that works. So in search, you will search for the value, right? Now, how do you search something? So how do you do it in your normal world? Example, if I say, tell me the location of 11, what you will do? You will first, so that's how your brain works. So what you will do is, okay, we can go randomly, but you'll say, okay, the first number is not 11, second number is not 11, third number is not 11, fourth number is not 11, fifth is not 11, sixth is 11. So you will say, hey, sixth is, the location is 6, right? The same thing you have to do here. So you have to search, right? You have to continuously go for the next value. How do you do something continuously? And that's one of the best thing about computers, right? They can do things repeatedly. They will not get tired. And if you want to achieve something repeatedly, you have to use loops. The word loop itself means repeated, right? And what type of loop we have in programming? So we have for loop, while loop, but we will not talk that much here. Let's use a while loop. So imagine while. When I say while, it's a loop which will help you to loop. So while we'll say, okay, I will keep doing it. But till when? You have to mention that point, right? At what point it will end? Example, if you say, hey, count 10 numbers or count numbers till 10. So I will say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The moment I get 10, I will stop. If you simply say, hey, keep counting, I will say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I will go on. There's no stopping, right? Then you have to say stop. So there are two ways you can stop. One, there are specific number of count you will be doing, or you have to wait for the external event. That's why in different languages there are different loops available. For loop, there is one more loop called for loop, which is mostly for counting. If you know the count, use for loop. If you don't know the counting, you just are waiting for the external event, you can use while loop. But while loop you can use for any cases. So here we are using while loop. And we'll specify till what point you have to search. You need a counter, right? You have to count from till when you have to do that. So we'll say the moment you found the match, we'll stop it. Okay, so, or maybe I will just go till the end. Let's go till the end and let's see how that works. For counting also we need a variable, right? How do you count something? So we need to store that value somewhere. So we'll use an I variable. I is very famous for the code. In fact, the same code is available in some of the videos. So if you watch the entire playlist, we have the same video there. So we'll use while, and we'll say while I value is less than the length of the list. So the length of the list is 8, right? So if it should be less than 8. That's cool. Okay, cool. This should be less than L. I can see a lot of people are actually posting the answers. I can take your help. Pass the list. Okay. That's right. We have to pass the list. Okay. Cool. For loop is better. Yeah, that's right. For this scenario, for loop is better. But just to keep it simple, let me just use a while loop here. And so so I'm doing it till L. But what is I? We have not defined I. So every time you use a variable, you have to declare it, right? You have to assign the value to it. So here I will say, or maybe I can do it. I can say I equal to, let's use I equal to 0. Or maybe that should be inside function, right? That should make much sense. Okay, who is this Karthik? Karthik, please don't spam, otherwise I have to block you. But yes, if we see the playlist totally, it will be enough. But still I'm blocking you since you are spamming here. Cool. So we got I equal to 0, and then we can write a code now. So every time you write something inside. So example, whatever I will write inside the while loop. So I have to give a tab. That's how it knows that this is a part of the while loop. Okay, so you have to search, right? But then at what point you have to stop it? So in this case, if I say if I, so how do you say if? How do you check for the conditions, right? So you have to say if. More of English here. If okay, so I'm more into C language now. If the value of list, or list is num, if the list, okay, so what we'll have here is the index value, right? So 0, 1, so it will search for 1 by 1. If the current value, if any of this value is matching with, if it is matching with n, then we have to stop. How do we do that? How do you stop? Anyone? Yes, the video will be available. Okay, so basically the first step is when you want to compare something, you will not use single equal to. See, the single equal to is assigning, right? Example here, 2 is getting assigned to n. That's an assignment, you're assigning the value. But here we are checking for the value, right? We are comparing it, so we will be using double equal to. So double equal to means comparing. So if this is something we want, so I will simply print the value of I. If this is matching, I will print the value of I, right? That's the index number. We got it. Else, otherwise we'll still continue, right? It should continue. Yeah, right. It should work, I guess. What do you think? Will it work? Let me just remove some blank spaces in between. Let's try. Let's right click. Let's run. Okay, it's not working. It's not working. You know what's happening? It is not stopped the execution yet. It is still running. So the problem is what we are trying to achieve is we started I with 0, right? And then we'll check if 0 is less than 8. Yes, we are at the first location. Oh, why we started with 0? is because the index number starts with 0 in programming. And that's why if you see my Python playlist, the first video is index number 0. The first video is 0, not 1. I love it that way. So the problem is, every time you run this loop, it will check if the first value is same as n is 2, right? No, the first value, which is 5, is not same as 2. So it will say, okay, it is not satisfying. But now we are expecting it to check the value of n with 6. But nowhere we are saying go for the next value, right? So what you have to do is you have to say I equal to I plus 1. You have to iterate the value of I every time this loop runs, right? So that it will go for the next value, next value, next value. Okay, let's run this. Oh, it worked. You can see we got 3. Okay, because since we are printing here, what we will do is when we print here, let's not print here, because when you print there, we are also printing at the bottom, right? We'll simply return the value. Can we do that? Should we do it now? Sounds weird. Yeah, we can do this, right? So we are returning the value of I. So what return means is, when you call a function, this function will execute and it will return something. It is returning the value of I, which is 3, right? It's working. But what if you search for something? Oh, there's a mistake here. The value of 2 is not at position 3, it is at position 4, right? So in the real world, we start with 1. So this is 4. But in the virtual world, in the programming world, it starts with 0. And that's why we got here 3. So what we can simply do is, if that the case, we'll simply return I plus 1. And we got 4. That's how we do it. In fact, we can optimize this code a bit more, but just to keep it simple, and my camera battery is low, what I will do is, for time being, I will just shift my camera to the normal camera. The DSLR is battery down. Just a second. Okay, so now I'm using my normal webcam. And okay, where is the code? The code is not visible, I guess. Yeah. So this is the basic code, but again, we can optimize it. We can optimize it a bit more. But that's how you think. Okay. The most important thing here is, how do you think about a language? So there are certain things we have learned from this. Is it's all about talking to a language, right? It's all about talking to a programming language, talking to a computer with the help of programming language. In fact, since we have done with this, I can actually sit now. I'm tired of standing there for a long time. Trust me, it's very tricky. To manage these things. Okay, this looks good. So yeah, so this is how you think about a language, right? This is how you think. So we have talked about how do you think for a language. We have talked about how do you choose a language. And so if you want to continue this, it's very easy. You can just go to YouTube, provided my YouTube is not logged in here. Yeah, it's not logged in. And if you search for Telusko Python, that's the entire playlist. So all these videos are combined in this video, but you can watch the entire playlist, okay? And it should help. So the code which we did now, okay, there's an ad. So it's there in the playlist. You can just check it out. Cool. So yeah, that's it from the coding part. Let me just take up some questions now. We have already crossed it. I hope I will be getting a mail soon from the YouTube team. Let me just get this done with. Okay, cool. Let me just pick up some questions now. Background is good with YouTube awards, so thank you so much. So we have some few minutes, we can take up some questions. Nice tutorial. Oh, thank you so much. Any more questions? Background noise. Oh, okay. Children are playing in the garden, so that's the noise. Okay, Amrit says you haven't incremented the value of I. That's right. That's a mistake I made. What are we trying to do? Basically, we were trying to search for a value in the list of values. Okay. Break. Yeah, so yeah, we were supposed to use break, but then just to keep it simple, I went with that code. So yeah, that's it, everyone. I hope there's no questions related to anything else apart from the code which you have written. So I hope you enjoyed this live session. Hit that like button, everyone. I will know that you have liked it. And first of all, thank you YouTube Marathon for Learning Marathon for this opportunity to be online. And tomorrow we have this will continue, and tomorrow we have another session. Yeah, that's it, everyone. I hope I can hear myself. So tomorrow we have another session. In fact, after this session, we have another session from Classical Jam. You can just check out that one, and you will find the link in the description area, and you can join that session. There are 3 more sessions for you to enjoy, and I hope you will join them. So one of the questions, why Google choose Java for Android in earlier years, is because of Java was very famous, it was stable, and the first version of Android was in Java, so they went with it. They knew there was an issue, but they took their time to implement it. Okay, question from Adian Binoy is why Bitcoin is called cryptocurrency, how it is related to cryptography. See, Bitcoin is a currency and it works with cryptography because to provide security, it is a distributed system. So no one owns there's no one to control Bitcoins, right? So everything is secure with the help of cryptography. That's why it is called cryptocurrency. Next course, Konsa Hoga, it will be Coda for next few sessions. Hacker1 says, hey man, you're one of the best tech YouTubers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that's it everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and make sure that you share this video with your friends and do enjoy the other learning marathon. Bye bye everyone. Thanks for watching.